Call the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of October 23rd, 2017 to order. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Here.
Balmas.
Present.
Hood. Thorstensen.
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
5 present.
All right, Trustee Hood did let us know he'd be out of town tonight. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. It's always nice to have people join us. And these are our new digs, all modernized. Thank you, Scott. We have chairs and carpets, and we got rid of those ugly blinds after 13 years of me complaining. It's gorgeous, so this will last us another 25 years. Good job. First up is public comment. If you'd like to address the board about something that's not on the agenda, you can come to the microphone and state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Paula Carballito. I live at 2530 South Admiral Drive in Great Lakes, Illinois. I know this is on the agenda, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody at the Village of Gurnee for their support of our veterans. We get to fly them for free to Washington, D.C., and the money that you guys help raise helps us do that for them. So I told them that it was so much money, I needed all of them to help me carry the check. So we have plenty of them that will help us take this check home. But I just want to tell you thank you on behalf of the organization and on behalf of the veterans that we represent. We definitely could not do this without you. So thank you.
Well, we love helping. We love helping our veterans. All right, if there's no other public comment, there will be an opportunity again at the end of the meeting. I'll move on to approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Balmas, second by Trustee Jacobs. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Here. Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
All right. Motion carries. Patrick, please read the agenda into the record.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the October 9, 2017 Village Board meeting. Item number 2, approval of request to dispose of certain documents as authorized by the State of Illinois Local Records Commission. Item number 3, approval of payroll for period ending October 13, 2017 in the amount of $816,628.98. Item number 4, approval of bills for period ending October 23, 2017 in the amount of $1,501,161.58.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Do I have a motion to approve the
Move.
Second.
motion by Trustee Garner, second by Trustee Ross? Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
All right. Motion carries. And we'll move on to petitions and communications. And tonight we have a very special presentation that's all worthwhile here. So Jim and Paul, if you want to meet me down front. I'll take this check. It has your name on it. Right, veterans? They'll text you. All right, or I can do you first. On behalf of the Village of Gurnee and the board and a lot of staff, every single one of them helped make this a success. We are honored and tickled pink to present a check to American Legion Post 771 for $20,000.
Mayor and board members, thank you very much for this repeat check to have it again this year with the Craft Beer Festival. This has become a very important fundraiser for the American Legion. This would not happen without the help of your staff. They do a wonderful job. So to Brian Gosnell, Carrie Suarez, Donna Dallas, Ellen Dean, Patrick Mutz, Mayor Kavorik, and this year especially Jack Linehan for all the work he did. He was the project manager for this, and he did an outstanding job. And then for the local businesses that participated, Timothy O'Toole's Jr. for Timothy O'Toole's, Gurnee Mills, and WXLC. I want to thank all the organizations. This has been really a community effort, and working with Honor Flight Lake County has just been a blessing to all of us. Thank you. What we're going to do with this money is we use it for scholarships that we have in the community. We sponsor Boys and Girls State. We use it for those funds. We have a new project that we're going to be kicking off. We're going to be talking to the village about this, which is going to be a planting beds on some vacant property that we have. We'll be talking to the engineering group here and hopefully getting approval for that, because what we're finding out is for veterans to work with planting and working in the farming communities can really help. We need 1 million new farmers in this nation because everybody is aging out in the farming community. So we're going to be working with another local nonprofit to help hopefully put this up on our vacant land. Oh, Junior, I didn't see you walk in back there. Yeah, oh, jeez. Hey, thanks, Junior.
Honestly, we would not have the Legion of Craft Beer Festival. Yes, staff does a phenomenal job with the execution, but without Junior's help and Timothy O'Toole's, the sponsor, and even coming up with the beer and everything, and 102.3 doing a phenomenal job to drink it and to do a phenomenal job with the publicity. Truly, they made the Craft Beer Festival happen. It was just an idea, but it's a great team, but it's wonderful. So thank you both very much. I'm glad you got here in time to see this check. And now the next check. You guys want to come up? Yeah. All right. Come on up here. Oh, you want a photo? All right, let's move on down. Paula, and our veterans who served. All right, again, on behalf of the Village of Gurnee, we want to send a whole bunch of veterans on honor flight, and we have a check for $5,800. Who's your spokesman? What do you guys want? Say something?
Yes. Well, I do want them to, I brought them today because I wanted them to share a little bit about their experience. Some of them just came off this last trip. We at Honor Flight in Lake County take veterans to Washington, D.C. for free. The way we're able to do that is by raising money every single month and partnering with great communities like the Village of Gurnee to make it possible for them to fly. We take care of every single expense. Ask any one of them. They don't have to come out with any money. We take care of everything. But one of the really important things for us in these past couple of trips has been to provide them a police escort, which we weren't able to do in Washington, D.C. because it does cost money and it is a little expensive, and it is like a minimum of a couple hours and a minimum of 2 officers and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we've been able to do on these last 2 trips is with the extra money is be able to provide them police escort all throughout D.C. And I mean, we clear the roads better than the president. And the one thing we noticed is that some people were giving us the middle finger and the veterans were like, what's going on? I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what it is? They think there's congressmen and senators on this bus. So another thing we're going to do with this money is get a big sign that says veterans on board so that they're fully aware of who's on this bus, right, vets? But we do a lot of the things, you know, a lot of awesome and unique things with this money, from the sweaters they're wearing to the caps. Turn around, do a little fashion show. There you go. Yeah, I like it. They get a hat, they get a pin, they get a backpack. We treat them like royalty from the time they arrive to us to the time they come back, and even beyond the trip. It really is a community effort, and so I just can't thank everyone enough. And I also want to acknowledge one of our other board members, Linda, and she's been working with the city and attended several of the meetings, so I want to give her the mic and have her share some of her things.
Well, just real quickly, it was a pleasure to be involved in the working and the development of the Craft Beer Fest. It's amazing the effort that the village puts together, and it was a real joy to work with the Legion and Timothy O'Toole's, who were just awesome at pulling everything together. So we are so grateful for all the support and everything that it enables us to do for our veterans. So thank you.
Let me just say, I really want to thank everyone and thank you for the donation. I can't tell you how great it is. I was on the last one. It was overwhelming. I cannot tell you the feeling you feel inside, because people actually do care, and that is the amazing part of it. Years ago, they didn't care, and I think they care more so now. I just want to thank everyone from all of our hearts, and I'm sure each one of you would like to thank you too, but I thank you. Thank you very much.
The best part of the trip was as we were going to memorials. It was very emotional for veterans from Vietnam when you see your comrades' names on the wall, you know. And but the best part of it, besides that, was we went to Trump International Motel or Hotel, and we ate dinner there. Trump wasn't there, but he paid for the bill, I guess. But we had a good time. And like she said about the escort, you won't believe this, but I mean, everybody just moved out of our way. The cops were just going, plowing through. We had a motorcycle, police in the front, and a squad car in the back, going back and forth, clearing the traffic for us so we can go straight through without any problems. And on top of that, we were treated like royalty. I couldn't even open a bottle of water by myself without my guardian doing it for me, because I was supposed to be special. And the guardians are told it's not about you, but it's about them. And we felt real blessed about everything. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm one of those guardians. I was on 10 and 11, the last two flights. And it's not for me, it's for these veterans here. And I just feel such an honor and a pleasure of doing this. And that's why I did it twice, 2 times in a row. It felt so good to right here. It really hits you right here. And they're a wonderful group of veterans. And I made friends that last me all my life, really, because they're wonderful, wonderful veterans. And I mean, I had tears in my eyes just watching these guys. It's unbelievable. And there's the lady right there in charge of it. But I know she gets a lot of help, but that alone right there. I don't know how she works a full-time job and all this, because this is a full-time job, but she does it. I don't know how she does it. We're all amazed, Paula. All amazed at you.
I do want to thank the community for our support. Coming back from Vietnam in 1969 was not friendly. What we observed was that we were hated. No one cared about us. Whether we died, came home in a pine box or whatever. Going on this trip, I was on number 9. It brought a lot of closure to us, or to me at least. And I'm sure the Vietnam vets had a little better feeling what it was like to come home to a cheering crowd instead of being spit on. It was wonderful, and Paula was the lady that made us feel like we were wanted instead of an enemy. I felt like an enemy when I came home, and it just wasn't fair to us. We did what our country asked us to do. Thank you.
I'll make mine real quick.
Was I too long?
No, you said what I was going to. I just want to thank anybody that was involved in us ending up with this check. I know what this trip did for me personally, and I am so glad that we can keep passing it on to veterans that still need the help. Thank you a lot.
One thing two things that this money does. So we don't just take them on this trip and then send them on their way. We bring healing to them. And as a community and as a country, we get the opportunity to right a wrong. We get to sit on that bus and let them know that on behalf of one American to another, we apologize for the way that you were treated when you came back from Vietnam. And that apology goes so much farther than anything. It's priceless. And the fact that all of you that participate in this get to do that for them, that's amazing. We could not do this without you. So thank you for helping us make that possible for them, because this is just so much more than the money. It's about the memories. We'll never be able to erase what they went through, but I can guarantee you we have downloaded some new memories into their hearts, and slowly those bad memories start to fade away. And the thing they talk about the most is the trip. So thank you to everybody. I can't tell you what this means to them. So our motto is, you drink, they fly. All right?
I just want to say that from the bottom of our hearts, it is such an honor. It really is to be a part of this. I mean, it does so much for us because we want to repay you. I can speak for our staff. We want to repay you, and this is a great way, seemingly to repay you. And we are thankful to be a part of it. So, and we are especially thankful for each of you and your service. So please know that.
All right, I guess I'll wrap it up. First and foremost, I mean, we've been here 9 years in Gurnee, and the community has embraced our arrival. And we've always looked for ways to give back. We've fed hundreds of families for Thanksgiving. We've given the national charities, local charities, and we were able to jump on something with the mayor here that was able to take advantage of some of our connections to get some beer to a beer festival. I mean, I said, yeah, what do we need to do? We're in for this one. But when it was tied into helping the American Legion and Honor Flight, I mean, there's no way we're going to back down on that one. We're going to find a way to keep it going. That's what we're going to try to keep doing because it's a great cause that we believe in. Once again, it's thanking the people that allow us to be here to do this. As a Mexican immigrant owning an Irish pub, it's them that have given me that freedom to do this. And I take a lot of pride in being an American, and those family members that have served, and everyone standing before us here who allow us to be here. So as long as the community continues to embrace us and help us and support, we will find ways to give back and always find a way to do something bigger and better. So we want to continue to keep our alliance strong, and as long as we can help, we will. Thank you.
Why does he have it? What does? Those are broken. Anything fireworks, especially Carrie Fisher.
Oh, thank you all for coming so much. Hopefully it makes all those hours of planning worth it. I know it does for me, but I don't go to all the meetings. All right, we're going to go back to governing. Next up is the approval of a proclamation designating November 5th, 2017 as Change Your Clock, Change Your Battery Day in the Village of Gurnee. In the United States, smoke alarms are present in 96% of American homes, but 20% do not work because of worn or missing batteries, preventing families from achieving the full potential of increased fire safety from smoke alarms. And if a fire occurs, working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in a home fire nearly in half by providing an early warning and extra critical seconds to escape. And approximately 84% of fire deaths occur in homes where smoke alarms are not working. And Change Your Clock, Change Your Battery is a national home fire safety program which urges Americans to change smoke alarm batteries when changing their clocks back to standard time each fall. And the members of the Village of Gurnee Fire Department are dedicated to the safety of life and property and therefore shall continue their efforts to promote fire safety education to young and elderly alike. And the members of the Village of Gurnee Fire Department are joined by other concerned citizens, businesses, schools, service clubs, churches, and organizations in their fire safety efforts. Now therefore I, Christina Kovarik, Mayor of the Village of Gurnee, do hereby proclaim November 5th, 2017 is Change Your Clock, Change Your Battery Day in the Village of Gurnee and call upon the citizens of the village to participate in this day to enhance the safety of you and your family in the event of a fire. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Trustee Garner, second by Trustee Thorstensen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Change your clock, change your battery day. All right, that's all our petitions and communications. Next up is reports. And we have Matt Barron from Lauterbach and Amon to go over our comprehensive annual financial report for our last fiscal year. So, Brian, do you want to do an introduction?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Before we get to Matt, I just wanted to hit a little bit about what the comprehensive annual financial report is. It is the final step in the reporting and planning process. It really represents how we did for the year, whereas the budget represents more spending priorities. This really tells us how we did at that mission. A couple highlights before I turn it over to Matt here. Fund balance in the general fund increased by almost $1.1 million. As you know, fund balance is very important to us. It means to keep our volatile revenue streams and be able to maintain operations in the event of an economic downturn. In the water and sewer fund, fund balance increased by just over $830,000. Again, vital to support capital funding and do those projects annually. And then finally, the village's long-term debt decreased by just almost $1.8 million to a total outstanding of just over $7.2 million. So we're whittling away at the long-term outstanding debt. So now that I've hit all the high points, I will turn it over to Matt Barron from Lauterbach and Amon for the rest of the report.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to hit two different documents, the audit report and the management letter. Brian hit some of the high points that I was going to cover, so I'm going to try to keep it at a high level. And if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and I'll be happy to answer them. I'll kind of flip through the pages if you guys want to try to follow along. I think Brian printed off copies for you, but if not, I'll be able to tell you what's going on. About 10 pages in, there's a page that looks like this, the Certificate of Achievement Award. Last year, we submitted the village's audit report to the GFOA to obtain this Certificate of Achievement. We received it. That's why it's in here. We're going to be submitting this year's report as well and see no reason why the village won't be getting the same award again for next year. 2 pages after that is the opinion page. It's on the Lauterbach and Amon letterhead. We gave the village a unmodified opinion again this year. It's the highest opinion that we give. Essentially, that is saying that the numbers in here are what they say they are, and the audit report is in compliance with all government accounting standards. 2 pages after that is what is called the Management Discussion Analysis, or for short, the MD&A. This section is a narrative format, everything that is said within this audit report. So this one that Brian puts together each year is one of the most comprehensive, thorough management MD&As that we have. So this is a very good spot to go to read what happened at the village during the year from all the operations. Since I'm going to be covering that in my report, we're going to flip past this section. But anyway, that'd be the spot to go. At the bottom, you can see it says MD&A 1, MD&A 2. Flip past MD&A 18, and we're going to get to the actual audit report, the financial statements. And I want to take us all the way forward to pages 8 and 9, where we get to the fund level financials. This is where Brian started to hit on where the fund level financials are. It looks like this on pages 8 and 9. In total, the far right-hand column at the bottom, your total fund balance across all of these governmental funds is $32.3 million. In particular, the general fund is at $26 million. So going forward from there to pages 11 and 12 is our income statement. We can see how we did. It echoes what Brian said for the general fund. But I want to actually start with the grand totals. Across the far right-hand column on page 12, we had a total decrease for the year of all your governmental funds of $452,000. This basically is because of the planned drawdown that was supposed to happen within the capital project fund. That was then, when you take the general fund in and of itself, had a total increase, as Brian said, of $1.1 million. It increased by $1.1 million, and there was still $750,000 that went over to the capital project fund to help fund future capital projects. Revenues were up over budget, and expenses were held below budget by about $1.5 million. And you're able to increase contributions to your police, fire, and IMRF pension funds from last year to this year by about $700,000. So good year for the general fund. In terms of the fund balance at the end of the year, if you compare fund balance to our operating expenses, we're at 75%. That's always a benchmark that we look at to see that's a very healthy fund balance that you have for the general fund. Any questions about these before we get to water sewer? Flipping forward from there to pages 14 and 15, I'm going to echo basically what Brian said for the water sewer fund. You can see at the bottom of page 15, your total fund balance for water and sewer fund is $57.8 million. When you take out capital assets in the related debt, we're at $5.5 million. How'd we do? On page 16, we can see what Brian said from an increase of $800,000 on page 16. Revenues were over budget, basically with the rate increases and the usage that happened, and expenses were consistent. When you compare the operating expenses to the unrestricted fund balance, again, we're at about 74%, so very healthy fund balance here for the water fund. So between your two main driving funds, general and water, both very good years and very healthy fund balances at the end of the year. Any questions about the actual numbers?
Guess not.
Okay. I had one last page I just wanted to point out to the board that I think they would find interesting in this report. So as part of our GFOA certificate, we have to put the stat section in the back. It kind of shows 10-year history trends. The one that the village is so reliant on, sales tax, we can see that on pages 118 and 119 how they've been going over the years. On those pages, you can see a trend history for 10 years how sales tax is. Since there's not the true property tax here in the village, that sales tax is the main driving revenue source. When you look at from 15 through 16, we're staying very consistent from one year to the next. So things are staying, very consistent and reliable here for the village on their sales taxes coming in.
We work hard at that.
Yes. Any questions about the audit report itself before we get to the management letter? Management letter is a letter that we provide you that gives you additional information that's kind of outside the audit report. So this can be recommendations that we're providing you to help implement and improve certain operations of the village, or just information to be providing you. How our management letters broke up, it's into two parts: current recommendations or any new management letter comments, and then prior, which are all the old ones with if they've been implemented or not. This year we had one new current one. There's a new governmental accounting standard that's coming out. So basically it's an informational thing to be telling you about It's coming in 2019, and it has to do with retiree health insurance and how it's being shown within your audit report going forward. So we'll help the village implement that one coming up in 2 years, but more of a heads up that this is coming. The one prior one was about funds over budget. It's kind of a default one we have to look at. It's kind of part of our audit procedures. There were 2 funds that were over budget this year, 911 fund and fire pension, neither of which I see as a significantly big deal. So just kind of something we have to say as part of our audit report.
And if I could real quick, Mayor, I just want to point out that the 911 fund was because we had closed that fund and paid off the Motorola lease early. That's why that one was over.
Yep.
And the pension? The firefighter pension?
I'd have to look at that a little deeper. I didn't look into that one too much. I think the dollar amount was fairly small, if I remember correctly.
I know, 56,000.
Yeah.
Any questions about the management letter? Before I leave the podium, I do want to thank Brian and his staff for all their hard work with the audit prep. Audit went very smooth again this year, and all of his hard work pays off. We appreciate working together.
Well, we appreciate you doing this. I don't know how many residents read it, but I wish every single resident did read this report, because it does show a lot of hard work, how judicious we are, how tightly the staff manages, and everything that goes into it. So it's very well written, and I will actually read it, and I'm sure everybody else will too.
Yeah, and as you're looking through it, if you have questions, obviously get a hold of Brian or I, and we can help you with that.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you. I was happy to be at this presentation. I was at this presentation last year, so it was very nice to see and always, very heartwarming. So thank you for doing all that. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. All right. There's nothing else under the reports, but we do not have anything ready for the committee of the whole meeting next Monday night. The thing we thought we would have ready is going to be up in November. So does anybody have an objection to not having a meeting next Monday night? I have a motion from Trustee Jacobs and a second by Trustee Thorstensen to not hold a committee of the whole meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we are off next Monday night, and Jack will do the appropriate notifications. All right, so we have no old business, and we will move on to new business. The first item is approval of ordinance 2017-47, vacating a portion of Sherman Avenue right-of-way adjacent to Lot 1, Block 34 of Fred K. H. Bartlett's North Shore Highlands, and adjacent to Lot 2, Block 39 of Fred K. H. Bartlett's First Addition to North Shore Highland. So, Pat, you want to introduce it?
Yeah, were you going to bring up a map, Scott? Or okay, Scott's working on bringing up a map to give everyone an idea of the area we're talking about. So we did receive a request to vacate some right-of-way at the end of Sherman Avenue, just west of Belle Plaine. Was made by the resident to the north there, so at 1432. As you know, this area up there in the northeast area is a grid pattern. Sherman Avenue doesn't go all the way through to Belle Plaine. Currently, the village doesn't have any plans to put this street forward. This current board doesn't, but that doesn't mean something might not come up in the future. So staff was of the opinion to not vacate the right-of-way and leave it as is for the time being. Went before the Planning and Zoning Board. They were on the same page as staff and were forwarding a unanimous unfavorable recommendation, i.e. to not vacate the right-of-way. But they're a recommending board, so it's before the village board now for consideration.
And we hold on to these in the event that any of these parcels were ever to subdivide. This is when we would end up extending the roads and that. So there is that possibility. But we do have the petitioner here tonight, Karen Randowski. You can say it again, but petitioner's here, Karen, and she would like to make her case, explain why she went ahead with this and what her and her neighbors think about this. Karen?
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Karen Razwadowski. I reside at 1432 Belle Plaine. I've been there 30 years. And the property adjacent to, which is the right-of-way, across from Belle Plaine is where the park is, Shaw Park. Now, they've already vacated that area of Sherman, which apparently the Park District got one half, and the other property owner got the other half. So the only part that Sherman could go through would be from Magnolia to Belle Plaine. And we've got so many, I'm sure as you all are aware, we have so many cut-through streets, and people just come whipping down. A lot of the people that live on the other side of Sherman, enjoy living on the dead end per se. The only property that can be built is two of my own. I am rated an R3. We did measuring and checking and found out that the two properties, if they were ever sold, would still be able to tap into the street as it is currently. I also, when I had requested or asked for this, giving in mind that there may be any sewer or water lines that may have to be worked on, that the village, of course, would be more than, I would be more than willing to let them do that. I have also paid the water and sewer frontage fees of 304 feet. I haven't used the sewer, but I still paid for that many years ago. It's just nice. It's got a big oak tree, and it's just a nice little, we take care of it and maintain it and cut it, make it look nice. And just wanted to see if we could vacate that portion of it.
So it would be the village wants it because, again, if those lots were to subdivide, we may want to put that street through. Could go either way. I told Karen to come and apply to get it to you guys to make a decision. In this day and age, I don't, putting streets through creates unintended consequences. But again, we don't want to turn off or prohibit a future property owner from being able to subdivide either. So that's kind of what we're trying to balance here.
Well, if I may, my property faces Belle Plaine. I don't know if you can kind of visualize where it is. And the easement is just south of my property, and the dead-end street comes all the way back to, a good portion of my land. So there's woods in between. So if they were to vacate just that one portion on Belle Plaine, like I said, that dead-end road that is current would still allow those two properties to be subdivided and still tie in.
So you could put a cul-de-sac at the end, basically, or something. Questions for staff or Karen? Go ahead, Trustee Thornton.
I was just going to, I read the Planning and Zoning Board minutes on this, and it seemed to offer more color. Is there any of that you could share with us, Scott?
Of course, the biggest question here is, we need to look at this as a public right-of-way. It was originally dedicated to the village of Gurnee in 1925, I believe. So, it's been around for almost a millennia now, or 100 years, at least a century. As stewards for the community, we have to look, 5, 10, 15, 50, 100 years down into the future, and as if the village of Gurnee ever going to use this right-of-way is a big question. We currently have water and sewer in there. I don't know if there's gas out there in public franchise utilities or not, but the bigger question is really just a policy of the village of Gurnee of, do we give up our land rights on this and absolutely prevent any future development or, roadway extensions or utility improvements in these areas in the future. So that's the policy decision the Board of Trustees needs to make this evening.
Other questions? Trustee Ross?
Who owns the property all the way behind your property up to 3670? Who owns that property? Do you own it all the way back to?
The one on directly in the back of me?
Yep.
There's a couple, Noah and Cyrus, that live in that house that faces Sherman.
The 3670?
This whole parcel here is owned by Ms. Rozwadowski.
Yeah.
Oh, that whole thing is yours?
And the road does extend further than that house. because there's two other houses on the other side of the street that have already been built. So therefore, they had extended the street further east already.
So 3669 and 3659. So again, if this was before the board, they subdivided it and they were putting another house there, would the village, obviously they could get a driveway, but then would the village want to put Sherman all the way through to Belle Plaine?
Well, then it would just, like I said, dead end into the park because that right-of-way has already been vacated. So it would just be going from Magnolia to Belle Plaine.
When did we vacate the other side of Sherman? Do you remember, Scott?
I don't rely on memory. Hold on. 99.
99, okay. It's more than a couple of years.
Yeah, that was when the park district put the park in.
So we vacated it because we didn't want the road to extend into the park?
I never did research on the east side of Belle Plaine to figure out what the history of that was. So I don't know what the reason, the rationale was at that time.
So that's all park back there then?
This is Gurnee Park. That's Gurnee Park. So yeah, it's all Park District parcels adjoining.
So if Sherman was put through, it would only dead end and basically onto Belle Plaine. It wouldn't be part of the, it wouldn't go further.
Correct.
Because we've already vacated the other side of Sherman.
I mean, from the engineering side of, the Village of Gurnee here, I'll speak that, this is a grid system. I would ideally like to see Sherman connected between Belle Plaine and Northwestern to provide the redundancy through the northeast quadrants of the village. We have a lot of disjointed areas out there. Access to the area is frustrating for people that are not familiar with it, and we see a lot of problems where people turn into dead-end streets, get frustrated, whip a U-turn, and then speed on out of there because they're just frustrated and they're trapped in suburbia, if you will. So from my perspective, the position is that the grid system works most efficiently, most effectively when it's fully interconnected. We're not there. We're not going to be there in my lifetime, but I have to think and present my position as looking 50 years into the future when I'm no longer around, but the Village of Gurnee continues to exist.
All right, and I would tend to agree with you, but in the last 20 years, where have we used the grid system in any subdivision in town?
We don't use the grid system.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't. We tried to get away from having cut through, streets that go through. If a home was there, you're putting a street very close to two homes, and I think we would be sitting here debating the same thing because you've got homes on each side, and they're already built, that would be very close to where this road would go, and we would sit here and debate whether we would want to put a road that close to people's homes.
You do have a water line there?
Correct. We do have water and sewer out there from the village's perspective. I know there's overhead lines in the area. There's nothing in this area, so I don't think ComEd or Comcast have anything up in the air right now. The underground would be North Shore Gas. I'm not sure if they're there or not.
Well, there might be some advantage too of maintenance to maintain that right away for the water line.
I have a question. What are the speed limits on both of those streets, on Sherman and Belle Plaine?
Everything's posted 25, so statutory is 30. All the local streets in the village are posted 25. If the village vacates, we would maintain an easement over the entire area to the benefit of the Village of Gurnee and the franchise utilities to allow us to get into that area to maintain our water lines and our sewer lines and things of that. We have a sidewalk, starting here, if you will, type of thing. So that would be something that I don't know that we'd have to reserve that or not, but we'd have to look and see if we want to reserve sidewalk easements as well for future connectivity for pedestrians as well.
If I may just add one more thing. There is also a fire hydrant at the end of, in that area where the street is there, and there's also one in the front of my house. So as far as, fires were concerned, there is a fire hydrant that sits where the street currently already is. And they also lowered the street last summer. So the street sits down here, and my house and the easement sits up here.
So again, we're deciding based on, do we think in the future these would subdivide and we would want to put that street through, is basically what we're being asked.
And what's, unfortunately I didn't attend that plan commission meeting. What is the desire to have this vacated from the property owner's perspective? Because there is no current plans to put it through. So why do you think it'd be advantageous to have it vacated for you?
To my perspective, I wanted to be able to, have the property so that I could maintain it, keep it nice, plant some more trees, just because there's a big oak tree right in the middle, which is probably one of the only oak trees. There's very few and far between oak trees in the area, which I know it's just a tree. But as it is, we already dig, all the junk that accumulates to the neighbor's fence, and we keep everything clean. And of course, the neighbors behind me don't want the street to go through either, because when they built there, they built on the assumption it was a dead-end street. And then, of course, people cutting through are coming down right into the park. And we already have people speeding down every other street because ours is one of the few that doesn't go through. The rest already do. So it's just another cut-through street that they would end up with.
Okay. Just as a point of order, when you vote on this, we always put action items in the affirmative or a positive statement. So when voting on this, we will need to have someone make a motion and second that does not obligate you to vote a certain way after it's presented to the board for a vote.
So it's an affirmative motion.
Yeah, it corresponds with the request of the petitioner. So a yes vote would grant the vacation. A no vote would defeat that request. And the fact that you make a motion to vote on the proposition doesn't obligate you to voting a certain way then when the question is called.
These are tough. I mean, these are infill questions, which we haven't really, we get so few of them. So, all right, do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
All right, motion by Trustee Jacobs.
I'll second it.
Second by Trustee Balmas. So it's an affirmative motion. You guys know what you need to do. All right, so roll call, please, Andy.
Garner.
Nay.
Balmas.
Nay.
Thorstensen.
No.
Jacobs.
Nay.
Ross.
Nay.
All right, motion fails. Motion fails. All right. Thank you for going through the process. This may lead to some other talks when we get to the comprehensive land plan about what we want to do with some of these infill areas, because it is a tough question.
Well,
right.
Thank you for your time.
There was no fee involved here, right?
The way I brought this forward was to avoid any of the fees,
Okay.
just because it was kind of confrontational. I wanted to get that out ahead of time.
Good. I thought you would. All right. Thank you.
Could I say something?
Trustee Ross?
Well, I just hope that it's really true that you're not planning to do anything with it, and for maybe her lifetime, it'll stay the way it is.
It'll be another board's problem. All right. Motion fails. Item number 2 is approval of ordinance 2017-48, amending Chapter 78, Section 78-105, subsection D of the Gurnee Municipal Code to prohibit parking on Swanson Court, west side from the south line of Lot 2 of Mora's re-subdivision to 130 feet north of the south line of Lot 2 of Mora's re-subdivision. Is this you, Scott?
Sure.
It is.
Yep. So Scott brought up another map here up on Swanson Court, the business there at 2011, 2001. Put in a request to us, or actually called us regarding parking on the street where they can't maneuver into their loading docks, and requested that it be marked no parking, a 130-foot section there that you can see Scott highlighted in red in front of the vacant lot there. Engineering took a look at it, didn't have any issues with it. So that's what's before you tonight, is to mark that 130-foot section of Swanson Court, no parking, so the truck can maneuver into those loading docks.
That makes sense.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner. Aye. Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Jacobs. Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 3, approval of Public Works Department request to purchase one Dodge Ram ProMaster 3500 cargo van from the low bidder Ray Chrysler at a cost of $38,153.57. This would be Public Works Department Unit number 682, and that price includes uplifting and paint. We have Brett here.
Yep. So Tom and Craig are both on, so we've got Brett Fritzl here tonight, our utility supervisor. This is the water meter van. I included some pictures on the back of the memo from Craig. The current van, 682, is 12 years old, 138,000 miles, starting to experience some issues with it, and maintenance costs. So included in this year's budget was replacement of that vehicle. They had $54,125 in the budget. Reached out to some dealerships in the area to get a price on the replacement unit. Ray Chrysler was the low bidder for the vehicle itself at $27,011. In addition to that, it needs to be outfitted with shelving, lighting, etc. inside. Ray has a relationship with Inland Truck and Van Equipment, so they reached out to them as far as getting that work done. That's another $5,942.57. And then furthermore, it doesn't come in yellow like the rest of our fleet.
So we're going to get it painted.
So we're going to get it painted yellow because that would drive me absolutely nuts. So again, Ray Chrysler has a relationship with an auto body shop, Bull Valley, that quote us a price of $5,200 to paint it yellow. So in all total, the cost comes to the $38,153.57 as the mayor read, and as I said, we had $54,125 in the budget. So staff is recommending to move forward with Ray Chrysler. And then they will coordinate with these other two entities for the upfitting and the paint work.
It sounds like a bargain. Since it's a different shape, does that make it easier, more efficient? Are you guys more productive with a van that's got this taller roof line? Or?
Yes. So the current van is your standard conversion van. The replacement, the Dodge ProMaster, would be about 1.5, maybe 2 feet longer, and also tall enough so a person could actually enter without hunching over and actually work out of the back of it. They can have full access to all of the storage in there. There will be a workbench in there. So it's a greater ease of workability. You can actually get in the van and work out of it.
That's a significant savings over what was budgeted. Questions from the trustees?
Move to approve.
I have a motion from trustee Ross, second from trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner. Aye. Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Pretty slick. I'm going to reopen the floor to public comment, but we are going to go into executive session. Does anyone want to address the board?
No action.
Yeah, there won't be any action when we come back out from the executive session, so if you want to speak to us. All right, close the floor to public comment. Brian, please cite the reason we're going into executive session.
We need a roll call vote on a request to go into executive session. This would be under exemption C2 to discuss the collective negotiating matter.
All right, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Garner. Second by trustee Jacobs. Roll call, please, Andy.
Garner. Aye. Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
5 aye.
All right, we'll be back out in just a little bit.